I help you?
Can I have some drumsticks?
Yeah, sure.
Thank you.
Video production at Studio NPL. Learn how to capture, edit, and create your own videos. Part of the Studio NPL Teen Workshop Series.
Hi, welcome to Quarantine How-To Videos. I'm Rebecca Stone with Studio NPL. I've been having a great time watching your how-to videos. Thanks for sending them to studionplnashville@gmail.com. Here's one from Dylan. He's a sophomore and he's going to teach us some pitching tips.
Hello, I am Dylan Stone and I am a left-handed pitcher for Plano West, and I'll be showing you how to throw a couple of my pitches. So this is how you throw a changeup, slightly on the seams for a slider on the big end of the four seam, like that, and then for a curveball, like this, and two seam fastball, like this, and then for a four seam, just like that. And those are all of my pitches.
Thanks, Dylan, for sending in that video. If you have a video, send it to studionplnashville@gmail.com. And we'll air it next week, right here at the Nashville Public Library YouTube channel.
Hey guys, it's your Studio NPL mentor Rhett. I'm going to show you a card game real quick because, especially in quarantine, card games are pretty fun. I think they're fun all the time, but I feel like this is kind of pertinent right now. So this is called King's Corner. It's a multiplayer version of Solitaire, and if you like card games, it's a real quick learn. It's an easy game, so check it out. What you do is you deal every player 7 cards. There's 2 here in this case. You deal 4 cards like this. Now what you can do is every player plays off of them like it's solitaire. You descend and alternate color. So this would get a red 10 because it's a black jack. This would get a red 5 because it's a black 6. Black 5 because it's a red 6. Black 3 because it's a red 4. So I'm going to look at my hand. I've got a red 5, a black 4, red 10, black 9, 2 kings, and a queen. I've got 1 card left. Now, if I could play that card, it would be over. But since I can't play this last card, I draw. That's basically how you play. Now, one thing to notice is if you could move one of these cards over onto another stack, you can totally do that, and then it's a free space. So you can really use that to your advantage. That's all there is to that game. It's great. You can play a million hands of it and not get tired of it if you like card games. So enjoy and stay healthy.
Learn robotics at Studio NPL. Part of the Studio NPL Teen Workshop series.
Brittany, teen librarian from the Madison branch, shares a chapter from Garth Nick's book, Shade's Children. If you like the book, it is available electronically through the Nashville Public Library website.
Shade's Children by Garth Nix. Video archive. Interview 1759, Ella. A razor blade gave me freedom from the dorms. A small rectangle of steel, incredibly sharp on 2 sides. It came wrapped in paper, with the words "Not for use by children" printed on the side. I was 11 years old then, 8 years ago, which means I am probably the oldest human alive. 5 years past the time when the overlords would have wrenched my brain out of my skull and used it in one of their creatures. Actually, I guess Shade is the oldest human around, if you can call him a human. Shade would say that it wasn't the razor blade that gave me freedom. It was what I did with it. The object is irrelevant. My action is the important part. But that blade still seems important to me. It was the first object I ever conjured, or created, or whatever it is I do. I remember when I first realized what a razor blade was, staring at that faded page of newspaper I found. The newspaper that had lain in a wall cavity for 40, maybe 50 years, long before the overlords decided to use the building as a dormitory. And there, in black turned gray on white turned yellow, an advertisement for razor blades with a picture perfect for me to put in my head. It took 3 months of practice for me to build that picture into something real, a hard, sharp object to hold in my hand. Then, one day, it wasn't just a thought. It was there in my hand, real, sharp. Sharp enough to cut the tracer out of my wrist, to make escape a possibility. Well, I did it. Only 1 in 10,000 gets out of the dormitories, according to Shade. Most can't find anything to cut the tracer out or don't have the wits to disable it in some other way. Even when they do find something sharp, most don't have the guts to slice open their own wrist, to reach in and pull the capsule out from where it nestles between veins and bone. Even now, when I look at the scar, I wonder how. But it's done now. I've been free for 8 years. I don't know why Shade wants to record this. I mean, who's going to see it? Who cares how I got out of the dorms? Of course, I really do know why Shade records, and who's going to see this video. I've been here with Shade for 3 years, but he's been around for nearly 15, ever since the change. There's been a lot of children in this place since then. I've seen their videos, but I'll never see them. You sit in the dark, watching their faces as they talk through their brief lives, and all the time you wonder what got them in the end. Was it a winger striking out of the sky? Trackers on their heels till they dropped and the myrmidons came? A ferret uncoiling in some dark hole where they'd hoped to hide? Now you're watching me, and you're wondering, what got her? Chapter 1. Goldeye crouched in a corner under 2 bird-shit-caked blankets, watching the fog streaming through the windows. 16 gray waterfalls of wet air cascading in slow motion, one for each of the windows in the railway carriage. But the fog had only a small part of his attention, something his eyes looked at while he strained his ears trying to work out what was happening outside. The carriage was his 3rd hideout that day, and the trackers had been all too quick to find the other 2. They were out there now, whistling in the mist, whistling the high-pitched, repetitive notes that meant they'd lost their prey. Temporarily. Goldeye shivered and ran his finger along the sharpened steel spike resting across his drawn-up knees. Cold steel was the only thing that could kill the Overlord's creatures. Some of the weaker ones anyway, like trackers, not myrmidons. As if on cue, a deeper, booming noise cut through the trackers' whistles. Myrmidon battle sound. Either the force behind the trackers was massing to sweep the area, or they'd encountered the forces of a rival overlord. No, that would be too much to ask for, and the whistles were changing too, showing that the trackers had found a trail. His trail. With that thought, Goldeye's change vision suddenly gripped him, showing him a picture of the unpleasantly close future, the soon-to-be now. Doors slid open at each end of the carriage, forced apart by metal gauntleted hands 4 times the size of Goldeye's own. Fog no longer fell in lazy swirls, but danced and spiraled crazily as huge shapes lumbered in, moving to the pile of blankets. Goldeye didn't wait to see more. He came out of the vision and took the escape route he'd planned months before when he'd first found the carriage. Lifting a trapdoor in the floor, he dropped down to the cold steel rails. Back in the carriage, the doors shrieked as they were forced open, and Goldeye both heard and felt the drumbeat of myrmidon hobnails on the steel floor above his head. Ignoring the new grazes on his well-scabbed knees, he began to crawl across the concrete ties, keeping well under the train. The trackers would wait for the myrmidons now, and the myrmidons were often slow to grasp what had happened. He probably had 3 or 4 minutes to make his escape. The train was a long one, slowly rusting in place between Central and Red Tree stations. Like all the others, it was completely intact, if a little time-worn. It had just stopped where it was all those years ago. Not that Goldeye knew it as a form of transport. It was just part of the fixed landscape to him, one of the many hiding places he moved among. Goldeye didn't have memories of a different time, except for the hazy recollection of life in the dorms, and his escape with 2 older children, both of them long since taken. At the end of the train, he got down on his belly under the locomotive, steel spike clutched in his fist, white knuckles showing through the ingrained dirt. Beep, 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 beep. The trackers were on the move again, spreading out to search. It sounded like a trio on each side of the train, coming towards him. Goldeye pictured them in his head, trying to get his change vision to show him exactly where they were. But the change vision came and went when it chose, and couldn't be controlled. This time it didn't show him anything. But a memory arose unbidden, a super-fast slideshow of trackers flashing through his mind. Thin, spindly stick humans that looked like half-melted plastic soldiers. Bright, bulbous eyes, too large for their almost human eye sockets. Long, pointed noses that were almost all red-flared nostril. He could smell a human out with those noses, Goldeye knew, no matter where he hid. That thought was foremost as Goldeye listened again. But he couldn't work out where the trackers were, so he edged forward till he was almost out from under the train and could get his knees and feet up like a sprinter on the starting blocks. It was about 30 yards to the embankment wall. If he could cross that open space and get up it, the trackers would go past to look for an easier way up, and myrmidons were very slow climbers. At this time of day, that left only wingers to worry about, and they would be roosting in City Tower, avoiding the fog. Then the trackers whistled again, giving their found signal, and myrmidons boomed an answer, frighteningly close. With that boom, Goldeye shot out like a rabbit, jinking and zigzagging over the railway lines, frantic with the terrible realization. The myrmidons had crept under the train. He could hear their boots crashing onto the gravel around the tracks as the huge creatures jumped down from the lead carriage, the bass sounds of their battle cries joining the frenzied whistles of the trackers. Heart pounding, face white with sudden exertion, Goldeye hit the embankment at speed, reaching head height before he even needed to take his first hold. Then, as his feet scrabbled to take him higher, he reached out and slipped. The fog had lain a film of moisture on the old stones of the embankment, and in his panic Goldeye had run to one of the hardest spots to climb. His fingers couldn't find any cracks between the stones. Slipping, his feet touched bottom, and he added his own wail of despair to the awful noise of the creatures behind him. Soon, the myrmidons would surround him, silver nets shooting out to catch him in their sticky tracery. Then a winger would come to take him away, back to the dorms, or, if he was old enough, straight to the meat factory. As Goldeye thought of that, bile filled his mouth. Then he turned to face the myrmidons and hefted his steel spike. "Kill me!" he screamed at the tall shapes approaching through the fog. "Kill me!" The myrmidons stopped 10 yards away. 7 of them, a full maniple. 7-foot-tall, barrel-chested monsters with long arms ending in spade-shaped hands. 6-fingered hands with thick, oversized thumbs. These myrmidons wore golden-green metal cloth armor that was all spikes and flanges, heavily decorated with battle charms, sparkling even through the fog. Crested helmets enclosed their heads, and black glass visors hid their faces. If they had faces. They certainly had mouths, but they were silent, now that their target was trapped. The trackers were quiet too, clustering in their trios behind the line of myrmidons. Their work was done. "I'll make them kill me," Goldeye thought desperately as the myrmidons, toying with him now, raised their net guns. He tensed himself, ready to lunge, hoping to strike one behind the knee, irritated enough that it would kill unthinking. "Hey you! Shut your eyes and duck!" It was so long since Goldeye had heard a human voice that he almost didn't understand, till a fizzing, sparking object sailed past his head and bounced toward the myrmidons. He ducked, curling himself into the embankment, face pressed against the wet stone. For a second, nothing happened save the masked growl of the myrmidon's surprise. Then there was a brilliant flash, smacking his eyes with red, even through closed eyelids, and his bare neck with sudden heat. At the same time, something hit his back, and he flinched. "Grab the rope," called the voice again. "Hurry up! The flash will only hold them for a few seconds." A rope! Goldeye uncurled and saw the knotted end hanging above him. His eye followed the rope up the embankment, up to the fog-wreathed figures on the road above the railway. Humans. 3 of them, all older and larger than he. For a moment he hesitated, glancing back at the blindly groping myrmidons. Then he started to climb. And that's the first chapter of Shade's Children by Garth Nix. To find out what happens next, go to the link in the description to check out the ebook through Overdrive from your Nashville Public Library.
Here at Studio NPL, we are always looking for ways to reduce and reuse where we can. And one big way we can do this is by using less paper towels and more reusable ones.
Hey friends, this is Ashley from Studio NPL, and today I am making unpaper towels. These are a really awesome way to reduce waste around your home, and they're really easy to make. You only really need your scissors, your sewing machine, and an old bath towel that has seen better days. Maybe it has some holes or some spots on it. It's looking a little ragged, but it still has a lot of mess cleaning life left in it. So go ahead and find your towel, and let's get to making some unpaper towels.
Alright, let's get started. So first you'll want to decide what size you want. I went ahead and used a paper towel for my inspiration, and this is 8 inches by 11 inches. Whatever size you do choose, make sure to add ½ an inch around each edge, and that's for your seam allowance. Mine turned out to be 9 inches by 12 inches when I was cutting them out. So go ahead, lay your towel flat, and trace these out with either a ruler or find a book that's the perfect size. And then just lay it down, trace it around, and then cut. Alright, so by now you've probably noticed that cutting and playing with this terry cloth towel material can be quite a mess. So we're going to want to bind off these edges so that they don't fray any longer. If you do have a serger at home, go ahead and use that, and if you do not, you can do a zigzag stitch like this. And that's what I'm about to show you. So, set your machine to do the widest zigzag possible. Go ahead and place your needle, place the fabric under the needle probably about 1/4 of an inch away from the edge, and you can adjust this as you go. Your goal is for one side of the needle, one side of the zigzag to go off the edge, and one to stay in the fabric. So go ahead and do a back stitch. And you can redirect this as needed, as long as one side is on, one side is off, or close to off. Do your back stitch when you're finished. And it should look like this. You're going to do this to each edge, all the way around of each towel. Now, it can be kind of time consuming, and it's all about practice, but this is really gonna help your towels last a long time. Okay, so this is our last step, and basically all we're gonna be doing is folding down the 1/2 inch seam allowance that we added when we cut. We're gonna sew that down, and it's gonna look like this. And I've already done a little bit of this towel, but I will show you the rest of it. So you're basically just gonna find where 1/2 inch is away from your needle on your presser foot, and you can fold, and you can also press before you're to the sewing machine. So you can have these all pre-creased, and then you don't have to fight it with your hands as much if it's difficult. Whenever you're ready, you just get started with a few stitches, do some back stitches to back tack, and then go ahead and sew. So we're approaching an edge. What do we do? So before you get there, you're gonna want to fold this up towards your presser foot and just hold it right there. You can use the fingers of your left hand to kind of do this. So you're just holding it down and you're letting the machine pull the fabric in. And you can do a little back stitch if you want to. You don't have to. All right, now, this is a good spot to turn. So if you want to do a 90-degree turn, you just need to make sure that your needle is in the fabric. So make sure it's down there, and that's going to hold it in place so you don't break your stitch line. Then lift your presser foot and then pivot. This is really, really useful technique in sewing. And it makes a really crisp edge if you're going to do an angle. All right, now we're ready to blast off. Uh-oh, we have another edge. Fold up towards your presser foot, just hold it in place. Let the machine pull the fabric in. Again, needle down in the fabric, lift your presser foot just a little, rotate your piece. There you go. And then one more time. Back stitch, just secure that corner. All right, and it's gonna look like this. And that, my friends, is an unpaper towel.
All right, so that's all there is to it. Once you've hemmed all of the edges for your unpaper towels, they're ready to go. You can just fold these up and keep them in a basket next to whatever sink you use the most, and it will really help you cut down on using disposable towels and creating waste. Also, make sure you get a dirty bin. So whenever you're finished with one, you throw it in here and it's ready for laundry day. And if you want to take it to the next level, you can add snaps and make them more dispensable, but they will absorb the exact same amount either way. Go ahead and make your towels and send us photos. We want to see what you've been working on. Thanks for watching. Have a great day.
Hi, I'm Seth and I'm a mentor at Studio NPL. This is the first video I'll be making in a series about how to make your own podcast. Listening to podcasts is a great and useful way to spend the time that many of us have at home now, but making them is also a creative and fun way to use it because you're getting to make your own news broadcast, fictional radio play, or just a talk show with your friends. And making them now is easier than ever using a lot of free tools that are online or household objects. So in this video, I'll be going through kind of different recording tools and editing tools that are either free to access online or that use things that you might have access to in your house. In this video, I'll cover 3 main aspects of podcast equipment or podcast software that you need in order to make one. The first being a microphone. If you're watching this on a cell phone, then that has a microphone built into it, and a lot of cell phones actually have built-in voice memo or voice recording applications. Laptops, a lot of them come with microphones too, and they also have recording applications on there. My cell phone also came with some earbuds that have an inline microphone built into them, built right in the wire. A lot of modern earbuds have either inline microphones like these, or they'll have microphones installed directly into the earpieces. So those are more common microphones you might have around your house instead of maybe an explicit music or podcasting microphone. So by plugging these into a phone or a computer or using the onboard microphones on those devices, you're able to start recording. These microphones I'll just mention may not give you the same quality of sound as a professional kind of studio podcasting microphone, but there's some ways to get the most sound and most quality out of these ones. One way is to remove as much excess noise in your recording environment as possible. So you could either maybe go outside at night or in the middle of the day when it's quieter if you have access to a backyard. Another way is to kind of turn your closet into a makeshift recording studio, and that lets a lot of those extra clothes in the closet dampen a lot of the sound that's either coming in or echoing off the walls. Another way to kind of get better quality out of your microphone is to make a fake windscreen or pop filter, which is what this is. Essentially what a pop filter and windscreen does is that it diffuses a lot of the air going into the microphone, because air going directly in kind of distorts the sound a little bit. So what you can do is cover your microphone maybe in some thin cloth, whether that is a clean sock, a sheet, or a pillowcase, and that'll help kind of diffuse any air from shooting straight into the microphone and distorting whatever it picks up. Another way to get the best quality recording is to set whatever your recording device is on a surface that you're not going to bump that much, because bumping whatever it's resting on can also kind of distort some of that microphone pickup. Alright, so now that I've talked a bit about microphones and recording software, I figured I could show you some editing software. So right now, what I have open is Audacity, which is a free editing software you can use on Mac and Windows. On Mac, there's also GarageBand is Apple's free audio recording and editing software you can use, but I'm not going to use that just because it's not available on all platforms. There's some other free ones you can use online and everything, but Audacity is also a great one because there's a big community of podcasters that have all used this for a long time, and they have plenty of, frequently asked questions and tutorials on all kinds of different aspects for it. So right here I just have a podcast that I made earlier, very simple. It's only about 16 seconds. And it's just an intro. I said in the middle of it, which is right here. And then, a little bit at the end. So 2 main edits you're going to be making in Audacity very frequently. One is listening to the clip and hearing what the room tone sounds like. So if I start this from the beginning, you'll notice there's a bit of like a hum. Hello, this is Seth from what I assume is air conditioning. And then there's an in the middle of it. So something you may notice when you start recording is how much you vocalize to fill empty space like that. So I'll show you how to fix both of these very quickly. You're going to be using these a good bit. So the first thing I'm doing is I'm actually up here. I'm using the selection tool, which looks kind of like a little writing cursor. I'm going to click and highlight the right here, and I'm just going to delete that, and you'll notice that the 2 sides on both ends of the highlight snap together, and it creates kind of this seamless transition right here where the used to be in the middle. One other thing for you to do is this first 5 seconds where there's kind of that room tone. You want to actually record and leave that empty space in the beginning so that you can go and isolate the room tone and then eliminate it from the rest of the clip. So this 5-second clip, if you listen to it, you hear kind of that air conditioning hum. What you can do is go to the effects panel. On PC, it's going to be up at the top bar as well. You want to go to noise reduction, and then you want to have the section of the clip highlighted and then click Get Noise Profile, so it analyzes that clip that you selected. And now you want to highlight the area where you want that entire noise profile removed from now that you've selected it. So I want the whole clip right here to be selected, so I just click this little side panel. Now I go back to the effects panel and noise reduction, and then I click OK. So now it analyzed the whole clip, and you can go and listen to it. And you'll notice that it's a lot quieter. This is Seth. I guess and this it kind of removes it from the rest of the entire clip. So those are the two main edits that you're going to be making in Audacity whenever you're doing a podcast. One other edit is you can remove this first little bit now that you've used that. And also you can add theme music to your video. So I went on Free Music Archive. It's a great place to get royalty-free music. And I grabbed a song that I'm going to be crediting at the end of this video. So I'm going to add that in here. And you can see kind of, where it falls with the rest of the clip. So I'm going to take the time shift tool and I'm going to grab this time. I'm going to move it toward the end so that now you can listen to the podcast, get to the end of the podcast, and then the song comes in at the end. I guess this is just a sample podcast. That's about it for this episode. I'm going to be talking in future episodes again about publishing and another one about kind of recording one with your friends over long distance technologies like video chat and how to make a multi-person podcast that way. So thanks for tuning in.
My name is Sabian. I'm sorry, did you say sandal? Zanal. Zanal. Think of panel, like a panel on the wall, but with a C. Zanal.
Hi, my name is Zanal. Z-A-N-O-L. And yeah, this is what I have to go through in my daily life. Whether it's at school, Studio NPL, or basically anywhere I go. All I know about my name is that it was my great-grandfather's name, Zanal Edwards. But I think it's time that I learned exactly where my name comes from and how it came to be mine. My first step was to call Uncle Carl since he was the firstborn of Zanal Edwards. In the end, Uncle Carl gave me a rundown on some information on Zanal's family.
Hey, brother, Charlie Lacefield with his mother, which would be my grandmother, Fanny Byers. Zanal's father's name was Dempster Edwards.
Now that I have information on Zanal's family from Uncle Carl, it's time to see what my grandparents know about Zanal and the origin of his name.
Ruby and Cecil, that was his cousin. And there was another cousin named Elmer Edwards. He and his wife, Genevieve, lived in Yemen for a long time, and then they finally moved to Pine Knob, and they managed the store, the Pine Knob store. We have often wondered why his parents named him Zanal, and where the name came from, if it was back further in their line somewhere, but I do not know. And we tried to look online and find the origination, what country it came from and everything. And then there were some products called Zanal products. And that's all the research we've done until we have not come up with a definitive answer.
In the end, I still don't know where exactly my name originated from, but I have learned a lot about my family history, and I'm walking away with a deeper connection with my family.
Hi, I'm Rebecca Stone, your Studio NPL mentor, and this is your film challenge. Every Thursday in the 3 o'clock hour, I will issue you a new film challenge. So, this is how it's going to work. First of all, your film must be less than 2 minutes long. It must be family friendly. That means no R-rated, okay? And what you'll have to do is have it turned into Studio NPL Nashville at gmail.com by the following Monday at 5 p.m. The winning film will be aired the next Thursday. So that means you will submit your film on Monday by 5, and the winning film will be aired the next Thursday during that 3 o'clock hour. And then you'll get a new film challenge. Okay, this week's film challenge. Number 1, must include a whip pan. A whip pan is when, in a horror film or even a comedy, something is revealed to the audience. Number 2, you must invent some new sounds. In fact, you're going to have to invent 3 new sounds. When I mean invent new sounds, on a film, there is a sound design engineer, and she, along with her team, must invent a sound sometimes. For an example, the lightsaber sound from Star Wars. That was an invention. Someone had to come up with what that sounds like. Another example is from The Incredibles, the young boy that runs really, really fast. There's a sound that goes with that running. The sound design team had to come up with a sound for that. So you're going to have to come up with 3 new sounds to go with something in your film. Number 3, the story. You just discovered a new room in your house. How could you have missed it? Has it been there all along? Maybe it just appeared. However it happened, it's there. And there's a problem. Okay, good luck on your film challenge. Again, send it to Studio NPL Nashville at gmail.com, and your film is due Monday by 5 p.m. Good luck.
Hi there, my name is Akila Ashokin, and I'm the facilitator for Girls Who Code at Studio NPL. Today, I'm going to walk you through how to create an interactive online magazine in JavaScript. This will be the first video of a 3-part series, and this video will focus on HTML. So let's get started. Head on over to hq.girlswhocode.com. Sign up if you don't have an account or log in if you have one. Be sure to get parents' permission. Once you're logged in, you can head over to your club and scroll down on the left-hand side to where you'll see Learn. Go ahead and click on Learn. These are the different modules that you can do through Girls Who Code. Today, for our purposes, we'll be using the Interactive Magazine in JavaScript module. And these modules here will walk you through all the steps that you need in order to create your interactive magazine. Before we dive into the code, let's take a look at what an interactive magazine looks like. So you might be familiar with them. They used to be on Android phones. They were called Flipboard. You could basically swipe through your screen and see different images from like an online magazine. Here we can see an interactive online magazine created by a student. And you can click this button below, and there's a series of prompts that you can enter in, and there is a survey essentially that you can submit. So you can go through that on your own time. I want to take a moment to review the main language that we'll be learning through this tutorial, and that is JavaScript. So JavaScript is a text-based programming language, unlike many of the block-based programming languages that we've been learning. You basically have to write text, and the whole function of JavaScript is to make your web page more dynamic. Unlike other programming languages like HTML and CSS that we'll learn about, JavaScript basically makes your web page do things. So when I hover over here, this section is highlighted. So that is all JavaScript in the back end. But JavaScript is still very easy to learn and very relevant. Almost every website that you will ever create will use JavaScript, or any website that you even see. So it's a really great language to know and learn. The platform that we'll be using today is called Trinket. It's a coding platform that you can use to write and run your Java code immediately right on your web browser. JavaScript is just one of the programming languages that we're going to need in order to create our interactive magazine. The other two languages that we'll need are HTML and CSS. HTML kind of sets up the structure of our web page. So for example, in this web page, we'll see the image on top. We see this header at the very top. We see a short few lines about what this interactive magazine is. Then we see some more headers over here. So that kind of structuring is done by HTML. CSS is a different language that adds a little bit of color and a little bit of style to the web page. You'll see more on that in the next video. In this video, we'll be talking about HTML and how to create that. So what is HTML? HTML is the standard language for creating files that we call web pages. It stands for Hypertext Markup Language, and it's essentially the skeleton of a web page. This is kind of what HTML looks like. In HTML, we have our content between two tags, the opening tag and the closing tag. Notice that the closing tag has a / like this, and the opening tag does not. Each of these tags tells the web browser what kind of content this is. So, for example, we can see that if we use the P with these two brackets here, that the content is then a paragraph. If we use the H1, it means that this is a large heading. So these tags around the content tell the web browser that this is what this content is. It's a paragraph, it's a header, it's an image, something of that sort. Let's now take a look at HTML in action. Head over to the Trinket.io website. You can create a free account on this website with parent permission, of course, and sign in. I have now signed into my Trinket.io account. I'm going to hit New Trinket and go down to HTML. This will be where you'll write your code on the left-hand side, and this is where you'll see what the website actually looks like. Notice that this file's name ends with a .html. That's essentially how you'll be marking all your HTML files in the future. So, let's take a look at the example they've given us. We want our website to be structured like this. To start off, we add the HTML tags. The HTML tags let the web browser, your Chrome, your Firefox, your Internet Explorer, know that you are now writing in HTML. Next, you have the header, or the head. We add the head tags. Notice that Trinket automatically adds your closing tags, which is really great for us. In the head tag, it will typically include something that says, what is your web page about? For mine, I'm also going to say title. And I'm going to say cookies. I included this thing called title right here because I wanted my web page to say cookies at the top over here. So that's what the title does. The title names what's gonna show up here. Typically, what shows up in the head right here will not show up on your web page. Then is the body. You can think of the body as the body paragraph of an essay. This is where the majority of your content goes. So let's first include a header. Just like you'd put a title on an essay. Let's say, I'm going to say, My Cookie Store. Underneath, I'm going to say P. This is the paragraph tag. And within the paragraph tag, I'm going to write a sentence or two. You can essentially write a paragraph here. But I'm just going to write, my favorite kind of cookie is chocolate chip. Look at that. Now my website has a header, and it has some words written for some sort of description that I wanted to include. You can format it as you like. You can have, perhaps you'd like to have another header. You can say, Nashville, Tennessee. This second header, H2, is a slightly smaller header. And you'll see as you increase the number after this H that the header size actually decreases. Okay, so now we have a basic web page ready. Let's make it a little bit more interesting and add an image. So in order to add an image, we have to let Trinket know where that image is, or we have to upload a version of that image to Trinket. So first, go ahead and find yourself an image. I'm going to Google cookie, because this is my web page about cookies, and I'm going to choose an image. I like this one. So I'm going to go ahead and save it to my desktop, and I'm going to remember where I saved it. I know exactly where I saved it, and I've named it as cookie. You have to remember what you saved it as. So it's a cookie and it's a JPEG file. And I know where I saved it. So now I'm going to go back to Trinket, and I'm going to hit this button right here. And I'm going to go to Image Library. I'm going to hit Upload New Image. So I'm going to click to select an image, and this is my cookie image from before. Hit Open, and there it is. So look here, this is the name of the image, cookie.jpg. That's very important. So now let's go back to our HTML page and start typing in the tags that we need to display the image on the web page. So the tag for an image is img, closing. And the image tag does not have a closing tag like you see for these other ones. Like paragraph and header all have a closing tag and an opening tag. This is a self-closing tag, so it does not need one. So for this image tag, you can have a space, and then you're going to say src equals, and you're going to put double quotes, and you're going to put in the name of the file that you want to put on your web page. So mine was cookie.jpg, and I put that in right there, and now you can see that there is a nice plate of cookies on my web page. Isn't that great? So what you're seeing here, this src equals, that's an attribute. That's called an attribute. And that basically just tells HTML that, hey, this is the image that I want here. So it's kind of like an identifier. So all you have to know is the name of the image. And now it's on your screen. Isn't that awesome? Alright, so let's get a little bit more creative. So I have this kind of basic cookie website, but I actually want to do something like have different kinds of cookies on my cookie website. So what I can do in order to kind of divide up my website like that is I can add divisions. So a division can be created using the div tag. The div tag essentially stands for divide, and it has an opening tag and a closing tag. And you can put sections of your web page in in between those two div tags. And you can create new sections, and you can do this, and you can add something else here. For example, I'm going to do oatmeal raisin cookies right here, and see if that showed up. Yep, oatmeal raisin cookies is right there. And then I want to create a division for, let's say we do one for white chocolate. White chocolate cookies. So we have all these different divisions, and we can tell HTML to divide up our web page based off of these. So I'm going to add my images for oatmeal raisin and white chocolate cookies. See what kinds of divisions that you can make with your HTML website. So I've spent some time now creating my website, improving it a little bit, making it look a little bit nicer, but I wanted to share it with you guys. So looking over here on the left side, we see that I have 3 different divisions. Here's division 1, division 2 right here, and this is division 3. And each of those divisions I've dedicated to a different kind of cookie. This is the chocolate chip cookie one, and underneath it you'll see an image for the cookie. This is for oatmeal raisin, and this is for white chocolate. And in each of these, I'm trying to show you what a different HTML tag would look like. So this is what H2, which is the second type of header. It's remember the largest header is H1, and then the second one, H2, is the second largest. And then if you keep going down, it gets smaller. Or if you keep going up, it gets smaller. And you're going to see that I did download some more images of cookies, and I uploaded them to Trinket so that I could view them. And then in each of these, I can write a paragraph about the cookie, or who likes the cookie. And that's basically my cookie story. Awesome! You guys just finished your first HTML web page. In the next video, we'll go over CSS, cascading style sheets, and how we can use them to create our interactive magazine. Good job, you guys! I'll see you in the next one.